I think there are better people for that one. I think there are better people for that one. I
Justin.
think Blake Lively's ready to direct. That's what I think.
Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, once Hollywood's perfect couple, are officially over. But this isn't just a breakup. Behind the scenes, something much bigger was brewing. And when the truth came out, Ryan didn't just walk away, he cut ties completely. One moment, they were inseparable, posting playful jokes and public displays of affection. The next, Ryan filed for divorce. Blake's reaction was explosive, and leaked messages changed everything. What really happened behind closed doors? And why did Ryan, a man who stood by Blake through everything, suddenly decide he couldn't anymore? Because this isn't just about a marriage falling apart. It's about power, control, and a behind-the-scenes battle that went way further than anyone realized. The deeper you look, the more this starts to feel eerily familiar. Think Amber Heard. Think Hollywood's biggest downfall. And once you hear what really happened, you'll understand why Ryan Reynolds is done for good. The signs were there. The tension on set, the private messages, the lawyer who suddenly walked away, and when Ryan finally saw the full picture, he made the one decision no one ever expected. So what was Blake really hiding? What pushed Ryan over the edge? And is this just the beginning of an even bigger Hollywood scandal? Let's get into it. The news hit like a bombshell. Ryan Reynolds, a man who spent over a decade gushing about Blake Lively, suddenly filed for divorce. No public fights, no cryptic social media posts leading up to it, just a cold, calculated legal move that sent shockwaves through Hollywood. For years, their marriage was the gold standard. Flirty Instagram exchanges, effortless chemistry in interviews, and a relationship that seemed built on genuine love and humor. They weren't just a Hollywood power couple, they felt real to their fans. But as we've seen time and time again in Hollywood, nothing is ever as perfect as it looks. Insiders say the moment Blake found out, she lost it. We're talking frantic phone calls, screaming behind closed doors, and an all-out scramble to contain the damage. It wasn't just the shock of the divorce, it was the timing. She wasn't prepared. She wasn't in control of the narrative. And for someone who's carefully crafted her image for years, that was the real nightmare. Sources close to the situation claim that Blake initially believed this was just a rough patch, something that could be worked through. But Ryan's move was definitive. There were no last-ditch efforts to save the marriage, no attempts at reconciliation, just a firm legal separation that made it clear he was done. And that's when the questions started. Because Ryan Reynolds isn't the type to make a public spectacle of his personal life. He's private, calculated, and always one step ahead when it comes to controlling his image. So what did he see that made him go from devoted husband to completely cutting ties? The industry was just as stunned as the fans, but behind the scenes, whispers started spreading. This wasn't just a marriage falling apart, there was more to the story. And the deeper you look, the uglier it gets. Sources close to the couple say Blake was completely blindsided. One moment, she was focused on her latest film and upcoming projects. The next, Ryan had filed for divorce, and the life she had meticulously built was crumbling right in front of her.
I think that whoever decides to take charge of the next one would do it justice. But, it's a lot of people to get the same schedules together.
We're talking panicked phone calls, heated arguments, and a frantic attempt to contain the fallout. Blake wasn't just dealing with a breakup. She was watching her carefully controlled public image slip through her fingers. And for someone who has spent years crafting a reputation as Hollywood's effortless, drama-free sweetheart, this was nothing short of a disaster. Insiders say she was furious, not just at Ryan, but at everyone who had a hand in letting this news break before she could control the narrative. She called in her PR team demanding damage control strategies. She wanted statements drafted, press angles manipulated, anything to get ahead of the story before it spiraled out of control. But the problem? She wasn't in control anymore. The headlines were everywhere, social media exploded, and worst of all, people weren't automatically taking her side. That's when the comparison started. Amber Heard, Meghan Markle. Hollywood actresses who once had the public's sympathy until they didn't. The shift was happening fast and Blake could feel it. Her once loyal supporters weren't just asking if Ryan had blindsided her, they were wondering if maybe, just maybe, there was a reason he walked away. And that's what sent her into full-blown panic mode. Because Blake knew, if the wrong details got out, this wasn't just going to be a messy divorce, it was going to be a full-scale Hollywood scandal. And once that train leaves the station, there's no stopping it. At first, Blake's lead role in It Ends With Us was supposed to be a game changer. A beloved novel turned into a high-profile film, an emotional storyline that resonated with millions, and a director, Justin Baldoni, known for bringing heartfelt narratives to life. It had all the makings of a career-defining moment. But behind the scenes, it was chaos. Almost immediately, tensions surfaced. Reports of power struggles, creative disagreements, and on-set clashes between Blake and Justin Baldoni started trickling out. Some said it was just artistic differences, the kind of thing that happens on any big-budget film. But others, they painted a much darker picture. Blake's team was quick to shut down the rumors, dismissing them as exaggerations or the typical Hollywood gossip machine. But then, the leaks started. At first, it was whispers. Anonymous crew members talking about uncomfortable moments on set, tense meetings, and Blake allegedly demanding more creative control. But as time went on, it got worse. Leaked messages surfaced. Messages that suggested Blake wasn't just defending her vision. She was actively pushing to control the film's editing, marketing, and even production decisions. Reports claim she used her influence to pressure executives, trying to ensure the film was shaped exactly how she wanted.
The message is very simple. As men, we need to embrace all of the parts of us that make us human. That's it.
And that's when people really started paying attention. Because what started as a film set dispute was now looking like a calculated power play. And as more details emerged, it became clear. This wasn't just a difficult shoot. It was turning into a Hollywood disaster. And Blake? She was right at the center of it. At first, Ryan Reynolds was all in on supporting Blake. He'd heard the rumors about the It Ends With Us production drama, but he dismissed them as nothing more than the usual Hollywood noise. As far as he was concerned, Blake was being unfairly targeted, and he had no reason to believe otherwise. But then, he saw the messages. Private texts started making their way into the conversation. Messages that Blake never expected Ryan to see. And what they revealed changed everything. Blake wasn't just pushing back against creative conflicts. She was allegedly pulling strings, making backdoor deals, and attempting to reshape the entire film to fit her vision. Reports claim she was in direct communication with executives, strategizing ways to control the final cut of the movie. She didn't just want creative input, she wanted leverage. And the most shocking part, she allegedly wanted Ryan to help her do it. Some messages suggested she expected Ryan to use his Hollywood influence to put pressure on the studio, the marketing team, and even Justin Baldoni himself. She wanted to control how the film was presented, how the media covered it, and even how certain scenes were edited. And when Ryan saw all of this, it shattered his trust completely. For the first time, he wasn't just defending Blake because he loved her. He started questioning her. Had she been telling him the whole truth? Or had she been manipulating him just like she was allegedly trying to manipulate the film? That's when everything unraveled. Because if Blake was willing to play this kind of game behind closed doors, what else had she been hiding? And that thought? That's what changed everything for Ryan Reynolds. At first, Blake had public sympathy on her side. The narrative was simple. A successful woman being undermined on set, facing pushback from Hollywood's old guard. Social media was on fire with support, fans defending her, calling out the industry for making things difficult for female leads. But then, everything shifted. The leaked messages, the behind-the-scenes power plays, the reports of manipulation. It all started feeling familiar. And then, the Amber Heard comparisons started rolling in. It wasn't just about the divorce, it was about how fast the public was realizing the story might not be what it seemed. Just like Amber Heard, Blake had started off as the victim. But as more details came out, that image started falling apart. And the moment that completely shattered her credibility, her own lawyer quit. A legal team's job is to defend their client no matter what, to handle bad press, reshape the narrative, and fight for damage control.
I mean, I internalized that as opportunity. We had such a responsibility to this audience to deliver something. And
so when a high-profile Hollywood attorney suddenly walks away, and worse, issues a statement that distances themselves from the case, that's a massive red flag. The statement itself didn't spell out exactly why the lawyer left, but the subtext was loud and clear. Something in Blake's story wasn't adding up. And just like that, public opinion flipped. Suddenly, people weren't just questioning Ryan's decision. They were wondering if he had been right all along. The It Ends With Us drama, the text leaks, the PR spin, the divorce filing, when you put it all together, it started looking like a calculated game gone horribly wrong. And now, Blake Lively wasn't just facing a failing marriage, she was facing a full-blown Hollywood backlash. Ryan Reynolds isn't the kind of guy to make impulsive decisions. He's built his entire career and personal life on staying in control, keeping things private, and avoiding Hollywood drama. That's why, at first, he tried to ignore the noise. He didn't want to believe the rumors. He didn't want to think that Blake, the woman he had spent years supporting, was capable of manipulating an entire production, controlling narratives, and using him as a chess piece behind the scenes. But the more evidence he saw, the harder it became to ignore. The leaked messages, the quiet whispers from insiders, the power moves she was allegedly making behind his back, it all started forming a picture he couldn't unsee. At first, it was about the movie, but then Ryan started asking the bigger question. If she's willing to do this to an entire production, what else has she done? What else had he missed in their marriage? Had their entire relationship been real, or was he just another piece in a much bigger game? And that's when he did the one thing no one ever expected. He walked away. For good. No PR spin, no last-ditch effort to save face. Just a cold, hard decision to cut ties completely. Because in Ryan's world, loyalty is everything. And once that trust is broken, there's no coming back. And if you think that's where this story ends, you haven't been paying attention. With Ryan officially walking away, Blake's entire career is now hanging by a thread. The Hollywood machine moves fast, and when there's even a hint of controversy, studios start backing off. Projects that were once seen as guaranteed wins, put on hold. Brand deals that counted on her clean, relatable image, quietly reevaluated. Executives who once praised her work, now avoiding her calls. And the reason is simple. No one wants to get caught in a PR disaster. We've seen this play out before. Amber Heard, Meghan Markle, even Johnny Depp at one point. The moment a scandal reaches a certain level of uncertainty, Hollywood pulls back and waits to see how it all unfolds. And for Blake, that's a very dangerous place to be. Because in an industry where image is everything, once people start questioning whether you're the victim or the problem, you're already losing. The whispers have started. Some insiders are calling her too unpredictable, saying that studios don't want to invest in a star who might bring more controversy than box office returns. Others say she's scrambling to secure her next big project, anything to shift the conversation. But the real question is, can she actually turn this around? Or has Blake Lively officially crossed the point of no return?
And they said, so you were the choice, but the network said that your eyebrows would be too distracting.
What?
Oh no.
Right now, Blake's team is in full crisis mode. PR strategists, legal advisors, and Hollywood insiders are scrambling to stop the bleeding. Carefully crafted interviews, controlled media appearances, and an attempt to reshape the narrative before it's too late. The goal? Rebuild public sympathy. Make it seem like she's been misunderstood, that the leaks were taken out of context, that the entire situation was blown out of proportion. But here's the problem. Ryan is done. He isn't playing the Hollywood PR game. He isn't releasing counterstatements or fueling the drama. He's silent, and that silence, it speaks louder than anything. Hollywood isn't rushing to defend Blake either. Studios are hesitant, brand deals are being reevaluated, and behind the scenes the message is clear. They don't want to get burned, and the worst part, the leaks aren't stopping. Every time her team tries to spin the story, another revelation drops. More messages, more behind-the-scenes accounts, more reasons for people to question everything. Blake needed time to control the damage. Instead, it feels like time is working against her. One more twist, one more revelation. And this isn't just a scandal. It's a career-ending disaster. Behind closed doors, strategies are being drafted. Blake's only shot at saving her career? Proving that the leaked texts weren't as bad as they seemed, or shifting the narrative back in her favor. But that's easier said than done. Because Ryan is moving quietly but deliberately. Unlike Amber Heard's public trial disaster, Ryan isn't saying much, which makes it even harder for Blake to spin the situation. And that silence, it speaks volumes. Right now, the world is watching. The marriage? Over. The Hollywood power couple status? Gone. The career? Hanging by a thread. So now the question is, does Blake have a way out of this? Or has she officially crossed the point of no return? Let me know what you think in the comments. Did Ryan make the right call? Can Blake turn this around? Or is this heading toward one of Hollywood's biggest downfalls yet? If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe, because trust me, this is only the beginning.